I really am having a lot of difficulties with my fine lines and my under eye. I mean, we are getting older. So, there's that. Should be here. Need to get some Botox in. Some filler. Pump this up. Pump this up. But, this is something we have to embrace. It's part of the aging process. I told you long ago. Getting ready for a graduation. Well, not my own. We already did that 700 years ago. We're doing it for the young people. Now, to find where one can do Botox here, to find a good Botox person, just just fill this up. Like these old under eyes, they need Botox. Just like pop them up there. We are old, but we are running away from aging. You understand? I mean, we cannot run away from it, but we can try. But where to get the Botox? Botox sounds like buttocks, but it's like Botox. Ah, well, look at you people like hyping me up this wonderful Wednesday morning. Don't do that. It'll get to my head. Oops, too late. Thank you. Good morning. I'm really struggling here. I don't know. See that? The under eye? This creases here? The makeup is creasing horribly. What are we going to do about it? Maybe we should be walking like that. Perhaps I should be walking like this. I'll be like, hello, hi, don't. Just. But then every time I smile, you're going to get those lines. You see that? I don't know. Do I have Q-tips? Perhaps I should use the Q-tips to take out the excess. There's an idea. Anyway, well, I still have you here. Yesterday in the morning, I was live and I caught myself in my own hypocrisy. I was telling the story of how I was on one of the lives and, one of the topics was body count. And, this usually comes across, sometimes you get into these misogyny, misandry, it all gets very mixed up together. I thought I was one who didn't care about body count. until I actually put a number on it. I didn't know that I had a number. And I was like, wait, what? Is this some body shaming? I don't know. Does it really matter though? If you're like in the relationship and this person has said, I want to be with you, and like we're not open, we're not whatever, and this is something that I did before I met you, but now we're together. Should it really matter? And at what point should you ask those questions? And should you ask those questions? And if you are asking those questions, why are you asking those questions? Because a part of me, like I was just, I don't know. And then I realized I do have a number. But even when I did give a number, a friend of mine asked me and she said, okay, if your number is 30, hello, good morning, everybody. If your number is 30, you're like, I'm just, again, exaggerating. If you say, my number is 30, I cannot be with anybody who has been with more than 30 people, as in sexually. Okay. What happens when you have been with this person, say you're still in the dating phase and you haven't, obviously when you're dating, that's not really the first thing that you ask on a first date, I hope, because that's weird. Why are you? So maybe after, you end up liking this person, and for whatever reason, this topic is brought up, and then they ask you. And now you actually like this person, you've gotten to know them on a deeper level, like, they meet everything that you wanted in a partner. And then they tell you, okay, mine was 42. What do you do then? Like, you're already in it. Do you walk away? Do you dump the person? I don't know. I call myself like, I probably wouldn't leave the person. But then again, did I even have a number to begin with? If my number was maybe 3 and then this person had 22, do I leave you because like you had 22? I'm really sorry. I don't know. So then I was like, okay, I had a number, but then again, doesn't really matter because we are here now. Like those are the old days. We're here now. Nigeria calls you back. Now, Bob, what we're not gonna do on my live is be purposefully ignorant. What we're not gonna do is try to rile people up under the guise of thinking that you're incognito. In the year of Satan 2026, you are not that smart, love. Especially when you're coming on the interwebs to try and be like, oh, look at me, everybody. Did you not get hugged, my dear? Are you touch deprived? Anyway, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, that there are people I think people who should be putting numbers are those who've never had a partner. So they would probably want to have no contact with somebody who doesn't have, We're going to make this easier for some people, for example, like this person. See how easy that is? I just love the internet. I just love the interwebs. I just love the internet. You know what? Before you go, if anybody comes on this live to try to remove this is, a trigger when you're online, being happy, being just you. There are these evil people, evil-spirited people who are very unhappy with themselves, and they try to share that negativity with you so that you take on their bad mood and then you give them the attention that they need. We send it back to them and everybody in their lineage who came before them and who come after them, anybody who even carries that ounce of their blood that made that negative energy, follow them, because here they did not find us, love. We refuse the racism. We refuse the rage baiting. Send it back to your bloodline, my dear. Because in this household, we are awesome. Anyway, it is a beautiful day today. And it is going to be a beautiful day. It will stay beautiful. Why, you might ask? Because beautiful. To be me, to be you. But that was my conundrum yesterday, I really had to sit down with myself and think about it. I was like, maybe we're not so as we thought we were. But we have to learn and unlearn certain things. And I am of the opinion that if you're a person who refuses to change your opinion when new information comes through, then you're just a sad person. You are stunning. Listen, I already said you people are spoiling me with these compliments. You are stunning. Get me a drink. I'm really hoping today's gonna be a very hot day. They already said it's gonna be a very hot day. I don't want to be, thank you very much to the people complimenting me and keeping me company as I blubber to myself in the mirror. But this is very wonderful. Okay. Like I was saying earlier, the under eye is not under eyeing, it's being a little sus. Yeah. Botox. We might need le Botox. All right, turn it around. Turn around. Now, I don't know if you put the... Let's see. I was saying the other day, like, it must be very difficult to be like a content creator, The amount of times you have to watch yourself and be proud of being gorgeous. Oh, dear me. Thank you. There is no shame in being gorgeous, is there? You can only do what you can. I mean, I know I am beautiful, and I hope you do too, because what other people think about you is their business. You cannot change another person's opinion. Well, perhaps you can if the person is smart. But when it comes, looks are subjective. Yeah? I am beautiful, but another person would be, who the is calling me at this time? What's going on here? Girl, don't do that. So I really don't mind what other people say when it comes to my looks, because to some, I might be, to me though, yeah, you cannot tell me otherwise, my dear. You cannot tell me otherwise. Might wear glasses. Aber wir sind dabei. Wir sind immer dabei. Hübsche Frau. Sehr hübsch. Und man sagt danke. Dankeschön. Gefällt mir. Ja. Ja. Yeah, I don't even know what I don't know what I wanted. When I started my face, I was like, okay, we're not going to do too much. We're not going to put blah, blah, blah. We're not going to... 3 hours later, and wir sind noch da. Wir sind noch da. Ah, pass mal auf. Accessoire. So when I'm talking, you should be hearing me to the lawyer. Turn around. I don't know what song I'm singing. I don't know what song that is. Okay. If you're in the background there, just like watching me talk to myself. I usually do this also. Like from here, I'll probably go and join a live on some random TikTok. Rile some people up with my opinions, as one usually does. And then we'll see how we go from there. But don't you find it interesting? Like, you guys should watch some of my older videos. In most of them, I was heavily pregnant. So, if you disagree with anything I said in the older ones, blame it on the pregnancy. Oh, you don't have TikTok. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's a very interesting place to be at anyway, TikTok. I prefer, if I'm being honest, I prefer coming live on my YouTube here than I do on TikTok. I find it's easier for me to go live just before I go to work and stuff like that. Back then when I was having school and I had to edit everything, my little videos, because I was doing everything by myself as an amateur, of course, so it's not the best quality videos. But it was time consuming. It was honestly time consuming. And it started to get frustrating. And I was like, why am I frustrating myself? This is something that I do for fun. I am a nurse. I work as a nurse. But I have today off, so I'm going to my friend's graduation. She's graduating as a nurse today, so I'm going to my former school. And it starts at 10. So I've got like a few seconds here. So that's a 10 and yeah. Gonna support her, make some noise, and just be there for her. Just to support her because she did support me when I was graduating. Thank you for saving lives and taking care of people. I actually do enjoy it. It's a very stressful job. And it's also it's not only just physically draining, but it's also mentally draining because of the things that you see, and you have to shut yourself out sometimes a lot. Like you have to shut off your emotions sometimes because like you walk in and you know the signs of death and you know that this is what's going to happen, but you do not want to be the one to break the news to the family because they're so hopeful. And you have to wait for the doctors who, because they do this all the time, they lose this, I don't know, with doctors, it's like they lose this empathy. So you stand there and you hear the doctor just bluntly, I'm sure it's overwhelming and have to be quick thinking. Of course, also, like that's the example I'm about to give, like, and then you notice the doctor just goes, boom, look, this is what's going to happen to your mom, to your dad, or your sister, or whoever. They're going to, kick the bucket. They have 0.3 seconds to live. And you as a nurse, then the doctor walks away, and then you're there, you're like, you have to now be empathetic and hug if they need a hug, if they want a hug, if they want to be left alone. But it's heavy on you. In as much as you're like, okay, this is at work, at the end of the day, we're just humans, like you cannot really completely shut off your human feelings, hopefully, unless you are. But it's very difficult. And then from that room where you were either hugging somebody and trying to be empathetic and be like, oh, I understand this is not something that you wanted to hear, you walk into the next room and this person just had a baby. They've always wanted a baby, now they have the baby. So you're there, you're like, oh, congratulations, oh my goodness, oh great, yeah, here. Then you go to the next one, they're in pain. And then the one who just got the bad diagnosis calls you, and then you have to go back in there. And so you're having all this, your body's going through all this so much. And then that's the thing with the doctors. It's like, sometimes you have to completely shut off, because otherwise you can't function. Like when I first started, like I remember the first patient of mine who passed. I was literally in his room, and I just left the room. I took care of him, he was smiling, and I left his room, and then just literally a few minutes later, I walk in to check, if all vitals were okay, blah, 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 and he was no longer with us. And I remember stepping out, and it weighed so heavy because I was just like, a student nurse. And I stood there. I don't know, I was so sad. Now, this was in the hospital. I did not know this person personally because, in the hospital, it's always a change. You're coming in, you're going out, you're coming in, you're going out. Like people coming in, because that's like an acute station. The hospital is an acute place. So once you're like a little bit stable, we're gonna send you out. So there I was in this room with this person, and I didn't know what to do. And apparently this man lived by himself. He had like a state caregiver, like the state had given him to a caregiver. And then I called this person and I said, hey, Mr. So-and-so has passed. He was like, oh, okay. And then she just cut the phone. I remember going in to the bathroom, as every nurse does. And I just bawled my eyes out for somebody I did not know. And then from that point on, it was a call for everybody to not just start going to meet their makers. And then I noticed that I didn't cry anymore. It just became so, yeah, okay, let's deal with the body. Because it became so normal. And then I started to understand why the doctors were behaving that way. But of course, these days, you can only know them from experience, you know what I mean? Like you can only know them from actively having lived it. And I was just, but there are some till this day, I'm not gonna lie, till this day that still get me. They still get me, especially if it's, I'm now in mobile nursing. It still gets me because in mobile nursing, you actually get to know the person. You actually get to know the person that you're caring for. You have to, you're spending a lot of time. For some people, like you're there an hour a day, and if you have like a 4-day or 5-day shift, you're literally going to see these people for 5 days in a week. And after your 2 days off, you're going to see them again. So you kind of sort of build a relationship with the patients. They're happy to see you. For some, especially the older ones, they do enjoy giving me, because I love to bake, I like to cook. I recently, I think a few years ago, got into baking and stuff. And of course, you're talking to your patient, you're like, oh, you like to bake? Oh, look at this recipe from my mom. And then all of a sudden, you miss one day. You miss one day, or not even miss one day. You have one day off. And then you just see it in the next time you're at work, you're like, oh, Mrs. So-and-so passed away. And I remember this happened to me so many times where I would literally have a piece of cake that I baked, or something small that I baked, or something small that I made from this person. Usually it's the women, from her recipe that I want her to try, or her and her husband to try. And you're like, oh no, they're not here anymore. So you have somebody new. And now, after receiving that sad news, you have to go to the new person or patient, and you cannot be sad because they have nothing to do with that. You cannot be sad. So these emotions are always like, and then you go to the new one, and you have to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Sister whatever. My name is Nurse Ruru, and I'm here for you the first time. Of course, you want to put your best foot forward because, again, this person has nothing to do with what happened. And these are all this isn't all emotions, these are all emotions that you have to swallow. And then you go to the next one, and maybe that one knew the lady who passed away, and you find them bawling their eyes out. Oh, my friend, or oh, my neighbor, I have known her for such a long time. She passed away. And now you go back into that empathy, because you don't want to come across as a robot. Oh, okay. I am a nurse. I am a nurse. I am in mobile nursing. So I'm just talking about my experiences with like the emotional roller coaster that goes through the home. So like you look at this and then you go to the next one. They're happy. They have a birthday. You have to take their present in to them. They're like, oh, happy birthday. It's your birthday. The family's there. They're all singing and you join in the singing. You go back into your car. And sometimes it's very difficult for me to like regulate. And then you come home. I have kids. And when you come home and your kids are happy to see you because mom hasn't been home since morning, you have to function also as a mom. So it's just sometimes it's very difficult for me to like regulate. And then you meet maybe in that same day, you meet somebody who's just being a complete buttock to you and you've just had a buttock day. So you're like, okay, all right, let's play. And then now you're rude to that one because how dare you? And then the next one is the loveliest person you've ever met, and you have to be lovely to that person because, so like the car is your 0.2 seconds to collect yourself and go. So these are like the advantage of being in a hospital is it's easier for you to shut it because you're seeing the same thing and you do not know these people. The disadvantage is you lose that humanity because then you literally start looking at the room numbers. Because again, you cannot, unless it's a special patient who's been there for a long time, but you cannot remember all their names. So you go by the room number. You're like, okay, room number 1, we have this woman, she's 22, or this man, he's whatever age he is, he has this, she has this, she has this, she has this, they're here for, give them this, give them that, give them that, and in 2-3 days they're gone. Next one in room 2, you know what I mean? But in mobile nursing, you have the same people. At least where I am, you have the same people on your, we call it on your tours, like on your shift. You have the same people. So when you go to this home, you know how Mrs. Smith is, you know how Mrs. Banda is, you know how Mr. Perry is, you know how, you can sort of kind of regulate. But when there's these weird things that happen in the middle, it's very difficult to regulate. Like, sometimes I just come back so exhausted and I have to explain to my kids, I'm like, I take care of everybody. I take care of the older patients and the younger patients, like the ones who have to be taken care of at home, the ones who, won't care, who need their medicines administered or set for the week. Like, it's just not specific. Most of my patients are older, but I'm noticing in the last few years, they're getting younger. Patients, we have psych patients who have to be monitored as they drink their medicines. I have people on my tour that need to be monitored as they drink their medicine. I have people who would need help with putting on their clothes or being helped with washing themselves because I have patients who just are bedridden and they need help with everything basically. What I don't have is like to give them food. This is something when I was in training, when I was in the old people home, I was then helping them eat, It's it's not an easy job and I do not see myself for a long time doing this. I hope to change it. I know we need nurses, but it's very straining because like I was saying, like sometimes like I have to apologize a lot to my kids when I snap at them because I'm just like so talked out because my job is also, you have to talk a lot. You don't want to have, unless somebody requests, or because again, you notice people's moods, you learn to read people and their moods. So sometimes people doesn't want to, the person doesn't want to talk, or they're just going through it and they just want to have their quiet time. In as much as that is so, you get that. In this, of course, at school we are told, especially when somebody has depression, you can, the first time I was when I was doing training, I was in a psychiatric hospital during my training. I had learned about depression in school, the symptoms, what to look out for, blah 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 blah. I had never, at least until that point, actively seen a depressed person. I walked into this room and I could just feel it. I looked at this woman. She did not say anything to me. I remember her vividly. She used to sit on the edge of her bed and she was knitting a black, whatever it is what she was knitting. It had no shape. She was horrible at what she was doing. But I walked in and I felt the sadness. She looked so empty. She looked empty. I don't know if you guys can understand what that. She looked empty. There was just an emptiness to it. Like, I don't know. I felt it. Yeah. It's just so heavy, and then automatically it just clicked. Like, I was like, this woman has depression. And then I walked out. I didn't even say anything to her because she did not even acknowledge me. Mind you, she was sitting there, just knitting. She was just neat. She did not say anything to me. I walked out, got into the computer, because as a student nurse, you're allowed to, just walk around and just check everything out. And this was the first thing there. She was like deep in her depression. And of course, in the school, we were taught the reason why you do not spend a lot of time with a depressed person, you get it. Because again, remember, I felt this. I felt her energy, like I felt her sadness. I saw her emptiness. She did not say anything to me. And I was like, that is why she's here. And then from there, you go out and you meet a bipolar person in their phase, in their happy phase. Again, emotions. My job is not an easy job. It's very difficult for me, like I said, sometimes to regulate my feelings. I love it because I know it's not sick people's fault that they're sick. Everybody can get sick. I can get sick. I would love to have an empathetic nurse by my side or doctor by my side who will treat me like a human. But the unfortunate side to this is that I also know from the other side. Yeah, of course, you want to help badly, but you can't say anything because exactly, that's the other part. Like, excuse me. Like when somebody goes, oh, does it look bad? No, they don't say that. Most of the time they go, like when they have a wound. That's one of the things that I like to do, which is weird, but I like wound dressing. Okay. And there was this patient of ours who had it was necrotic. It was a necrotic wound. And they go, oh, my wife said it's looking better. It's looking better, right? And I'm looking at this wound on he's got diabetes. And I'm like, well, this has got to go, babes. And you have to just be like, how are you feeling today? How do you feel good? Do you feel any pain? Like, if I nod, it means the next thing he's going to say to my colleague would be, your colleague was here and she says it looks better. That's false hope. Because if they get their leg cut off, you'd be like, yeah, but You say it look better. So most times you have to be tactical. Just like, how are you feeling? Well, it's a good thing that you're feeling better. Like you have no pain in the leg. That is a good sign. And then you just describe it to them. You're like, okay, real, it's, exudating, it's pretty lot, it's swollen. And you just be factual with it. If that were a doctor, he would just be like, no, we have to cut it. And it would just be like that. It would be like, oh, my wife said, no, we have to cut it. There are some nurses who are like that, who'll be like, nah, doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. But perhaps it will come after like I've been 722 years in this job that I'm just so the people. I hope not. I hope not. Because I don't want to be that mean nurse. But I've noticed that sometimes I do turn into that mean nurse, even when I don't want to, based on how I'm received, based on how I'm communicated to, because at the end of the day, I'm only human too, So there are some people, like on some patients, that we just don't get along. We don't like each other. May I ask where you're from? Of course, you may ask. Why not? It's like you just don't like each other. And that is absolutely normal. I'm being vexatious. I'm from the southern part of the motherland. Zambia, to be specific. All right. And now, to make our eyes pop a little bit. We're already complaining that we need Botox for these fine lines, girl. But the problem is, once you start with these cosmetic surgeries and stuff, is Botox considered a cosmetic? I don't even know if Botox is considered cosmetic surgery. It's cosmetic something though. I wanted to be, before this, I actually wanted to be a, no Botox. For the fine lines, love. For the fine lines. To hide our vampiric age. To be able to lie to the people that I'm just 35. Oh, dear me. When I was younger, my dream was to be a journalist. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to study journalism. I mean, I did get to study journalism. I studied it eventually in my adulthood, because each African household is going to allow you to be a journalist. So I studied it in my adulthood. I went to the University of London, and I studied it from there. But part-time, I used to work for a radio station. And that was the closest I could get to what I actually wanted to do. And then, because I realized I like to blubber a lot, I got into nursing. And then here we blubber a lot. Do you still write? Sometimes. But I've lost the art. If there's something, if you can even say that. I've lost the... I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to write properly anymore. Let me say it like that. Could write, but I'll need to go back into it. I'm furthering my studies though. I want to be able to go into consultation, like health consultation, to be able to tell people, okay, this is what you can get with your care levels and stuff like that, because it is needed here. All right. Does writing make you happy? It used to make me happy because I had time to write. But nowadays, I don't have time to write anymore. So I'm not going to lie. I actually do not write anymore, which is a shame, because it was something that I enjoyed doing. I even had in high school, I had this book where I wrote down all my thoughts until I realized I wasn't the only one reading those, if you know what I mean. So I stopped writing in it. I liked writing fiction or creating news bulletins actually. Like create a story, read a story, and create a news article on it. I also enjoyed very much reading the newspaper and reading the columns. I enjoyed that very much. But of course, you can't always get what you want. I'm just gonna take you with me. We're going to go downstairs. I'm gonna get myself a coffee. I have to put the lights. One of the things that I have never done is journal. I don't know how to journal. How does one journal? I don't know. You just like get a piece of paper and just start like randomly writing stuff down. I don't know how to journal. Maybe I should. How do you journal? I don't know how to put my thoughts to paper. I have forgotten the art of writing. This is what I'm saying. Like I have actually forgotten the art of writing. I have not written in 12 years. Okay, well, check that. Apart from school, like for my own pleasure, for my own, I don't know how to journal. Do you just like take a book and just, how do you journal? How do you put your thoughts? Because I've had like, I know, like, because of the experience that I just said, where I had a book where I was like, writing stuff. Sometimes it would be my own story. When I realized that it wasn't just my private books, my, growing up in an African household, there was nothing that was private. So by other people, I mean my mom and my siblings, they would like literally go through my stuff to find this book because I was pretty good at it. And then they would read, and then some of it would be used against me, even though most of the stuff that I was writing there was not my own stories, but like just because I used to be on the bus to go to school or walk back with my friends, and there's stories everywhere. And I'll come home and I'll just be like, oh, once upon a time, or it was a random blah blah blah, and try to be smart by hiding what it was that I was really trying to say. So I stopped. You have really triggered this little nice memory. I think it's a shame that I stopped to write. Maybe I should stop writing, just especially with my job. What I do is I try. I know eventually I will not be able to remember everybody, but the people who I held or hold close to my heart, I always remember them. There was this, my favorite of the patients. Oh, he was this soldier of war. He fought in the Second World War. And he would tell me all these stories about how he grew up poor and how he eventually got a gift from his mom, and they finally got a cow, and they would milk this cow. You're absolutely right. Sometimes writing helps you heal your mind and soul. But for this one, I had like a little small book. I put it away because it triggered these, oh my God, they're gonna throw away. And he told me these stories. And now that you've mentioned it, it's actually a beautiful story. And his mom got a cow, and then they would go around selling the fresh milk. Like he said, we would walk so much. And eventually his mom got sick and she couldn't do it, but he was a younger man. He was like 13 years old or so. And he said, I used to go and I used to, sneak into other people's farms where they would have their other cows eating their food. And I would just like sneak my cow in, just like either right in the middle. So my cow would eat. And he would time the times that the owners would like put their cows there to eat. And then they would go because they didn't want to stand in the sun too much. But I would sneak my cow in there, and then my cow would eat. And after he ate, they'd be like, okay, in about an hour, they're coming. Then I would like, because the cow is eating, it was not very easy to get it away from there. And it was like, I got surprised. I did this and nobody caught me. And I would take the cow away, and then it would produce milk, obviously, because it's getting enough food. And yeah, and then of course the war happened, and then he had to be a child soldier, unfortunately. And then he came to the States as a prisoner of war. And even there, he told me the story of
there we had to either decide either you want to eat or you want to learn the language. Because I asked him, I'm like, why don't you speak English? You served in America as a prisoner of war for like 2 or 3 years, I think. Why didn't you learn English? He was like, we had to choose, and I'd rather eat, thank you very much. So they were put in maize fields to like work, and there he could get some food, he said. And then he's like, when he was released, he came back, and from then on, he bought his mom a house, and he was such a giver. He was a giver. He didn't have any kids. His wife also died, his first wife, and then he just started living with the woman that he fell in love with again. But because of the tax system, he was like, we couldn't get married because she had also lost her husband. I had lost my wife. So they were not going to get any insurance if they got married. It was gonna, mess up their finances. So it's like that's why we stayed together for over 30 years. They did not get married, and they were like, we have had our misunderstandings, but we never had any big arguments. Like, would be like, why did you leave the toilet seat open? Why did you, like those things, yes, but big stuff. And I was looking at this man, I was like, wow. And he was my first patient where I did my first physical exam, like when the teacher comes in to see if you know what you're doing on a physical patient, like on an actual human being. And I'll never forget him. And he was so wonderful. I remember I was so nervous because I just started. And he said to me, do not look at the teachers. Just look at me. It's just you and me. And then when I got there, he could see I was nervous. And he was just like, oh, so how was your day? I was like, yeah, it was in the morning. So no, I didn't ask about today. I asked how was yours yesterday. Like the things I asked him, he asked me. And then I just got into it. Like I literally forgot about these two at the back because they were there, like seeing what I'm doing. And he was just like there. He's like, they're not here. You're here. How was your day yesterday? What did you do? I was like, even though we had like practice and practice, and I was told him, I'm like, okay, I'm coming with my teachers here. I'm coming with my teachers. We're coming to do an exam on you. Let's do this. It's like, how was your day yesterday? What did you do? Did you make that cake you wanted to bake? I was like, yes, I did. And then eventually when the teachers left, because, and he was like, I was like, and I knew I had nailed that exam. And then he was like, how old was he? He was 98 years old. And we had told him, when you turn 100, we are, because he loved water. And unfortunately for him, because of his age, he couldn't be in the water and what we're going to put him in. So what we used to do is we would put water in his tub and would just sit him there. And you would literally see this little boy come out of him. He would be there, be like, wee, literally, wee, in the water, in the tub. And just this extra 5 minutes of him being in the water, you would see this little boy come out. Wonderful man. Passed my final examination. I was like, I need a vacation. Because, first of all, that training traumatized the out of me. And I'm not going to do this. So I went on vacation. Tell me why. I come back. That was in August. I came back. No, wait. That was before I went on vacation. Or was it after I came back on vacation? I think it was after I came back from vacation, because he had told me, when you come back from vacation, I want you to tell me everything, because he wasn't able to go outside because he was very old. He could walk, but he was like not so much anymore, and he loved being in nature. And we had told him, when you reach 100, we're going to take you out. So I got back in there, and he was sick. Had been in the hospital, and I didn't know he was in the hospital, and they had brought him back home. And I walked in and I knew he was, dying. And I remember he looked so, that was the frailest I've ever seen that man. Now you have to remember, this was a 98-year-old. And he was so frail. And I held his hand and I said, I passed my exams. And he's like, oh my God, you passed your exam. I said, yes, I did pass my exam. And I went home. He was like, you went home? I was like, yes, I went home. And then I also, you know what else I did? I was outside. I did a little tour of the animals. And he was so happy. But I knew. And I told him, I will be here next week. I'm going to come here and I'm going to show you all the pictures that I took. And that very day in the night, he passed. And he had always told me whenever I was by him, I was like, oh, I don't want to cry. I was like, are you going to come to my funeral? And I would say, of course I'm going to come to your funeral. And I did go to his funeral. That is one man I don't think I'll ever forget. Of course, like I said, I've had people who have done exams on or with, during my exams, but him, because he always used to say it. He's like, I don't have any kids. Everybody that I know has passed away. Where I live has changed. I don't know my neighbors anymore, but I am content, he said. I am very content with my life. I have lived. He would tell me I went dancing. I have seen war. I have seen death. But he was, sometimes most people do not want to talk about their trauma, but he would talk about it and be like, I am happy. And he was. And he honestly was. And I would never forget that man. I would never forget that man. He was the happiest man I ever saw. And sometimes, and he only used to tell me this. The other colleagues would be like, oh, but we tried to ask him. He says, no, he doesn't want to talk about such things. And it was such a privilege for me to know that he trusted me enough to tell me that information. Because I had asked him, I'm like, but why didn't you write a book? And he would say, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to write because I have seen several things. And I, myself, because he told me in detail, when they caught him, because he was one of those people who were watching the planes or whatever. I don't know. So when they caught him, he was 15 years old. You have to remember, this was a boy. He was 15 years old when they caught him. He was like, I remember this American captain coming through and he told me, what do you do? And I tried to lie to him. I was like, oh, I'm on the fronts. And then he's like, really smacked me across the face. And it's like, I know those hands. Those hands are not on foot, on the front line kind of hands. You were behind the computers or you were whatever, get him or whatever. And it was like, now imagine me, 15 years old, being on a ship to go to the Americas. So I didn't even want to start imagining what he was going through on that ship. But from 15, he left his mom. And he was the only child. And his mom was sick. He could not communicate to his mom the time that he was in America. So 15, 16, 17, 18 and a half. And his mom, so when she came back, this is the man. War changes people. And it's like, I told my mom, I'm never going to put you in an old people home. I took care of my mom until she took her last breath. And I also told my wife, and fortunately for him, unfortunately for him, it was just after that, his wife got cancer. And it's like, I also took care of my wife. And his wife was hot. I said, show me your wife. Yeah. And he was like a short king, And his wife was tall, very elegant, even the way she stood and took pictures, you'd be like, yeah. She was very elegant. His wife was beautiful. And I was like, yeah, I lost her. And then he fell in love again. Luckily for him, he fell in love again. And he was with his partner who was the same height as him. And they were so cute. They were so cute. When he passed, she said, I cannot handle this. I cannot handle this. And I understood why. So I still go to her. She lost her husband. She lost her daughter to cancer. And now she lost her second love of her life. She did not go to his funeral. She said, I cannot. It's true. It's like, I cannot handle that. My heart cannot handle that. And when I see her and from then on, she has held on. But between us, I think it's her son who is making her hold on because she's been ready to go. She's been ready to go. She even asks me sometimes, she's like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Just like he used to say, she's like, my last love is gone. Her son is in his like 70s also, she's also in her 90s. And he doesn't have any partner, he doesn't have any kids. So I think, in my opinion, just between the two of us, he's holding on because he knows that his papa is gone, his sister is gone, the partner to his mom is gone, and this is literally the last line he has to his family. So I understand why he's like holding on, but she doesn't eat anymore. She cannot drink anymore. She's living through an infusion, basically. She's frail, and my heart breaks for him, but she's ready to go. It's just sad, whichever way you look at it. But I think for her, I would be like, okay, it's her time. Like, because she's been asking for this. There are some patients also, like, I recently lost one, very nice lady, 3 weeks ago. It was a very surprising one, but that one I accepted, which is weird. Just look at me. That one was like, I was like, yeah. For that one, I was like, yeah. I'm glad she went the way she went. But it was her time. And I was just like, I'm glad that the children didn't have to see it deteriorate. I'm glad that she got to see her children grown and whatever. I was like, yeah, it was a good way to go. In her sleep, in her bed, in her home, knowing her kids were there. And it was a good way to go, in my opinion, No pain, just slept, just went. And because it was sad when I noticed that she started to get this dementia. It started, getting worse. But she went before it completely took over her life, where she could still remember her children. And for me, that was a good way to go. Yeah, she's been begging God to take her. She's 96 years old. She cannot go outside. She literally sits and waits for death. When we go there, do whatever we need to do, she will sit there and do nothing. She doesn't like to watch TV. And I know, like, sometimes it's because of our relatives that we hold on. And I think that is why she's holding on. Because if I can see that her son is literally, his life revolves around her. Oh, my mom needs to do this. Oh, my mom needs to do this. Wait, does she pray? I've never seen her pray. She doesn't come across as very religious, but I know people her age are religious. But no, not even the father comes to her house. I know a few who they cannot go to church, so the father comes to the house, and the priest comes to the house and he prays for them, and he brings the holy water. But she does have like religious symbols in her house, but for some it does not mean anything because you have to get with the program or get ate up. So I don't know, but she doesn't come across as very religious to me. But yeah, but for her, when she goes, I will be happy for her. I'll be sad for her son. Well, he has to live his life. Come on now. But I'll be happy for her that she's going to finally rest. Because that is not life. That is not living. That's being in jail. You cannot leave your own house. You cannot leave you can only go to 3 rooms. Your bedroom, the bathroom. Wait. She goes to how many rooms? Let me count. Connected. Okay, so let's say 4 for the sake of bathroom, bedroom to sleep, kitchen to eat, and the living room. That's all. That's prison. That's the thing. She doesn't come across as prayerful. She does not come across as prayerful. She's the one who taught me how to knit also, and she gave me I keep it in a precious little box. And these things that she gave me only come out when I'm sitting quietly, when my kitchen is not a mess. My kids were in here. And then when I'm done with cleaning everything, and then I'll make my tea, and then I'll take out the little thing she knitted for me. I'll put it on the table, and I'll take my nice little cup, and then I'll drink it out. That's the only time it comes out, because she hand knitted. Those It's so small. They're so freaking small. Like, how did you do this with this small little string? And she made that herself. And I'm like, thank you. And then she gave me these glasses. I don't think I have them in here because I put them in a special place also. Like champagne glasses with a silver handle. And you just lift it and you know this is some pretty expensive shit. Like it's very heavy. Ooh, and she also gave me a tray, a silver, actual silver tray. And I was like, doesn't your son want this? And he looked at me, he's like, what am I gonna do with that? I was like, oh. Beautiful. Even for me, who's like a mini hoarder, I even feel like, do I really need to use this? Just take it out, look at it, put it right back. Because it's so precious to me. I have met such wonderful people during my job. I have met horrible people during my job. But whenever I'm meeting these horrible people, I'm always like, hey, you have these other more people who look forward to seeing you, who you look forward to seeing. And yeah, so the things you need to work on is knitting and writing. You need to take 5 to 10 minutes to yourself a day and just write. I used to also knit. Oh, dear Lord. Here I go again. I used to knit. And I used to sit and knit. And I don't know what happened. I need to reflect. I started to read more though. I do not want to read any self-help books. Like the self-help books, I don't want to read. I have been reading the books Dries Duarden. I don't know if you know that book. No excuses. I actually have no excuses. Like I've been reading Dries Duarden and I've been enjoying his journey. I love those books so much. And they have been keeping me company. I'm avoiding reading any self-help, I don't want. Oh dear, it's been an hour. Oh, Megan, you have kept me here blubbering my life away. Thank you, but I have to go to my friend's graduation. Thank you for keeping me company. I've been reading. I love adventure. I love thrillers. I love fantasy. Give me a little bit of magic. I am your girl. I also read, what is this? It has come out, the movie Children of Blood and Bone. Children of Blood and Bone? I read the story, but I'm very nervous about watching the show because I read the book and I know, they have to compact everything. If it's a movie, they have to. That's why somebody wrote, they were like, I prefer if fantasy books were done in like cartoon or anime or, you have to read Children of Blood. You have to read the book before you see the show. Please read the book before. It's so captivating. Megan, I have to go. Okay, I'll see you soon. I promise.